that the former Speaker of the House, come January, will be advising President Trump on everything, including the sanctuary city deal. So what will you tell him, Mr. Speaker?
Well, first of all, you have to say, Rahm Emanuel's crazy. Here's a mayor whose city is collapsing into violence. One person shot every 2 hours, setting all-time records for murders. And he wants to stop the federal government from getting criminals? I mean, remember, Trump is talking about President-elect Trump is talking about a very focused effort to get rid of people who are criminals. Now, you would think that the mayor of Chicago, in the middle of the worst murder pattern in the city's history, would be thrilled to have somebody help him get rid of criminals. This is madness. So my advice to President-elect Trump is pretty simple. One, you should ask your new Attorney General on day one to direct immigration efforts right into the sanctuary cities. Two, you should indicate any mayor who attempts to interpose, a term, by the way, used by the white segregationists 40 years ago, to interpose themselves against the federal government, would be liable to prosecution. And three, you should ask the Congress immediately, as one of its first items, to pass legislation authorizing cutting off all federal aid. Now, let's see how long Chicagoans like the idea.
But I don't know if that's going to happen.
Every penny of federal aid to Chicago
with the filibuster process in the Senate, we tried to get Kate's law passed, and Reid and his crew filibustered it, couldn't get up, and it was all chaos. Well, but let's take it one by one. Let's take it one by one.
Remember, there are 24 Democratic senators up in 2018.
I know that.
How would you like to go home and defend?
But it's going to take a long time.
Protecting sanctuary cities breaking federal law.
It's going to take a long time for that to happen. It's not going to happen overnight. But I want to go down the list that you just laid out for the folks. The first thing is that the mayors conflate good illegal aliens, the people who are just here to make a living, with the criminals. They don't sort them out. Okay, there's no sorting going on.
Right.
It's just like we're just not going to, if ICE calls us to detain and we have to detain someone and hold them, we're not going to do it. We don't care if the guy is a murderer that killed Kate Steinle, the alleged murderer, or some guy who just ran a stop sign. We're just not going to do it. So their responsibility is nothing. And they're doing it for votes. You know what they're doing it for. De Blasio in New York, the only reason he holds office is because minority people vote for him. That's it. So he's never going to cooperate.
Well, but I also think it's important to remember one of the reasons Trump won was a commitment to the rule of law. We're not Venezuela. We're not a country where you get to randomly pick and choose. That's part of why Hillary Clinton was repudiated. And I would say to the mayors, they don't get to pick which federal law they obey.
But they
want to come to Congress. And
they have been for decades. They've defied the federal government decades. Now, you say if the mayors don't cooperate, they may be prosecuted. We have Is It Legal coming up behind you to see if that's true. But on the philosophy of two sovereign systems, state and federal, very hard for the federal government to prosecute.
Look, we fought a civil war to indicate that there is one sovereign system. It is the United States of America. No state, no city can interpose itself between federal law and the citizens. We've been down this in 1958. The Supreme Court ruled decisively that it's impossible. That would be chaos. It would be anarchy.
Well, there is
in fact, Madison himself said that.
That's what we have now.
Which is why part of the reason we're getting President-elect Trump is the country is sick and tired of it.
Well, it'd be interesting to see what he does. Okay, so we assume that you'll advise President Trump and when he takes office and that he'll do it to go to Congress and say we have to have a bill that cuts off funding to cities like San Francisco and New York City and L.A. and Chicago. These are the biggest cities in the country if they do not cooperate with Homeland Security. Now, that's going to encompass a lot of debate. You're going to have to write two versions of the bill. You're going to have to reconcile them together. You know how the system works. It's going to take a while for that to happen.
It might take a while. I mean, in the short run, he can redirect federal resources of enforcement into precisely those cities. He can also prosecute anybody who interferes with federal enforcement. An aggressive attorney general can make a very big difference in this case if they insist on enforcing the law.
That's a key.
And then finally, But, you know, Bill, it's not bad for America to go through the process of writing a law, debating it. I think the more people get involved in this debate, the more angry they're going to be at these mayors, and the more they're going to think this is crazy.
All right. It'll be a very fascinating thing. I do believe this will be on the top of his agenda, this and a tax break, tax cuts and all that when he gets in. Do you think I'm right on that?
You know, I think you're right. And notice he's narrowed it to a really classic focus. Why wouldn't we deport criminals who are here illegally?
Right.
Rapists, murderers, drug dealers. I mean, what kind of argument is Rahm Emanuel going to make for protecting rapists, murderers, and drug dealers in the city of Chicago when he's got this many killings a year?
No, we'll
It's
see.
really goofy.
Mr. Speaker, thanks as always.